9. All right, we're ready. Welcome, everybody, to the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting of May 17th, 2016. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Lawyer, would you lead us this evening?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do the roll call, our secretary this evening, clerk, is Hope Vespia, town clerk of the town of Rye. Debbie Reisner is in Baltimore attending the graduation of her daughter from Johns Hopkins. And she was, by the way, inducted into Phi Beta Kappa today. So congratulations to her. Hope, continue.
Commissioner Julie Killian,
Here.
Commissioner Dennis Pilla, Commissioner Joseph Sack,
Here.
Commissioner Benedict Salanitro,
Here.
Commissioner Paul Rosenberg,
Here.
and President Gary Zuckerman.
Here, thank you. We have minutes of 3 separate sessions. I guess at Mayor Sack's request, there was a revision for the minutes of March 30th, 2016. Mayor Sack, are they satisfactory to you?
What did I ask for? I don't even remember anymore.
You wanted the discussion of the auditor to be enlarged.
Well, I think it was more than that, Gary. I think it was, Joe, where it said, and like a discussion ensued. I think you were looking for some of the details of the
Right,
discussion.
that's exactly.
So, what page is that on?
It was all over the place.
Yeah. So was it altered to those specifications?
Yes, I believe that it
I'll take
was.
your word for it. We all know what it was said anyway, so that's what
Yeah.
counts the most.
And,
It's on tape.
and it is reflected in the minutes. We have the minutes of March 30th, the special session of April 19th, and the regular meeting of April 19th, and the special session of May 1st. If there are no further additions or corrections, may I have a motion and a second to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
Actually, as I'm just flipping through this, I'm looking at the minutes for the April, is it the April 19th meeting?
Page.
I'm looking at page 9. I guess the pages are the same, even though it's different meeting dates, they are, there's not a new page number. But I'm looking at page 9.
Yeah, that's weird.
And the name John Ambrose caught my eyes. John here? It says, John Ambrose, part owner, got up to explain that the shuttle is an added amenity. Oh, he spoke again. Okay, this is
at
the
the
part I was
bottom.
looking for. He
Yeah,
spoke
he's-
again and said that it will cease. Okay.
Correct. Okay.
That's what I wanted to make sure was in there. Okay. So,
We had a motion and a second.
I second.
Okay, I think we can do voice vote. All in favor?
Yes.
aye.
None opposed. Public comment. Please step up to the microphone if you have a public comment. May I suggest, however, that the public comment at this point not reflect the RFQ discussion, and we should have more possible public comment after the RFQ workshop. Is that acceptable to the commission members?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. So other than the RFQ, do we have any public comment at this time? Seeing none, thank you. The sculpture proposal. I don't know very much about this. Is somebody here from COPE? Please come up to the microphone and state your name and address, please, and your affiliation.
I'm Meg Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director at the Rye Arts Center, and I'm also a resident of Rye, 2 Stony Crest.
Photo op, Dennis.
Hi, Maria.
So I'm here tonight because I want to give a few words of support for public art in Rye, but also in Rye Town Park in particular. We're very excited about the possibility of bringing a new piece of art to Rye Town Park. The Rye Town Park has had a recent, very successful public art, mostly the one that comes to mind is the work of Joan Benefield, who was also presented at the Rye Arts Center. We started a new sculpture series last year called Art on the Lawn, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive from the community and the participating artists. Our mission is to maximize participation in the arts, and this is accomplished just by viewing the art on the lawn as you drive or walk by. It draws people in and encourages full participation. There are so many intangible or soft benefits to public art. They're often dismissed as a low priority. However, I contend that good art is good business. Public art contributes to community identity and economic goals. It beckons people to gather. It compels people to stop, observe, think, and respond. And as we've seen, art in Rye Town Park presents the park as a destination, and this is all very important for Rye Town Park to thrive. And so with me is Bob Clyett. He has the particulars about Cope, the piece by Damien Vieira. So I'd like to ask him to come up and join me and give some details about the actual project, the installation. So I think everyone has the pictures of the...
This might be in your packet.
It is.
It is, it is.
So, okay, I have copies. Okay, we'll put the thanks, Meg. I guess you know some of the pieces that have been in Rye Town Park already. Last year, we had sculptures in that were sort of translucent pieces, and I think they were quite arresting, and I hope it was a good thing for you. I know
He's gonna
Lawyer
come
and I
to the
worked closely
microphone.
together for many years.
Microphone, right? Okay. Please speak into the microphone.
Yep, sorry. Sorry. So I know that,
Get your name and address, make sure we have it.
yeah, if you want, is that okay? Sound
Your
check?
name and address.
Name and address.
Bob Clyett, sculptor in Rye.
Fine.
Do I need an address?
Yes.
189 Milton Road.
Thank you.
So we've been working with Rye Town Park and Bill Lawyer for a number of years to put pieces in. I had one of my own, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. It's good for the park, it's good for the community, and we've had lots of good feedback, and I hope you have had too. What we're here tonight is to discuss the next in an ongoing series that, as Bill and I work together with artists that we know, with our committee at the Rye Arts Center, to bring works that we think will be an enhancement to the park. The sculptor Damien Vera is one with whom I studied in the city. His work was installed for 1 year along the Hudson River, and pictures of it down there. It's a beautiful piece, arching steel sail-like forms that go up about 14 feet, and there are 5 forms, and there's a little figure huddled inside each one, but it's sort of closed. There's a little window, and it's some interesting dimensions, both from a distance as well as when you come up and look inside. There's a little area to peer in with.
Excuse me, so this is movable art, so you're moving this from place, like it's here in Rye Town Park, and you had it, it's the same piece, though, that you...
It's the same piece. It is owned by the Art Students League of New York, and I've worked with them, and they are quite happy now that I've explained it to them to make it available to us. The sculptor is also excited about it, and we have selected a location that we think would be great with Bill and with the sculptor. What we're missing, and the reason why we're here, is 2 things. One, we need a formal go-ahead from the committee to do this. And secondly, we do need some in-kind support. We would certainly like to have some in-kind support from the municipal entities, and we're not sure who to finger and who to ask. But we know that there are masons who are on the payrolls, and they don't do masonry work every single day that they're working. and we're hoping that we can get some of their time, because it needs to have a platform laid down so that these pieces can be bolted in securely. They don't just sit on the ground, they are bolted in with mortar anchors into a concrete pad. When we did these kinds of installations in the city of Rye on Purchase Street, we had help from the city of Rye who would bring along the guys with the special mortar drills and put the holes in, and we could bolt down the things on, and it was a great cooperative partnership. And we're hoping to do the same thing with either the park itself or one of the municipalities that are represented here. We also need some gravel and concrete. So those are the things. The Rye Arts Center is working. We will be working and raising funds. We are working to raise funds for the actual transportation and the people whose job it is to bolt the thing in and this sort of thing. But we're hoping that gravel, concrete, and some masonry time is something that could be, obtained through the municipalities.
What is your timeline on this?
Timeline is that we're ready to go whenever we have the pad in place and the approval to do this. So anything from a few weeks to a few months. It's always nice to have these pieces up for the summer, because that's when the park has the most visitors. The Art Students League and the sculptor are happy to have the piece up for a longer period of time, as much as a year if we want it. And we don't have to make that decision now. But the idea Bill and I originally talked about was that we would have it up through November, through the season. It's early May, mid-May now, so I mean it's not that there's a ticking clock, but it would be wonderful to do this sooner the better.
I think that in order to do this, I believe we would need a resolution. I have concern.
To approve it.
To approve it, yeah, because I have concerns, for example, insurance questions and things like that. Personally, I'm in favor. I think it's a great idea, but I think the process. Does anybody have any idea going
Do you want to
forward?
tell us about what when you did it in the city, when we had the downtown arts installation, and what any liability things happened there?
Right.
Because it's virtually the same
At
thing.
least for City of Rye, there is an insurance policy in place, which, as long as this is a scheduled, approved by the city, and it's listed in the schedule, then it was insured against vandalism, loss, or theft. This would be a lot to thieve, it's a lot to cart off. But vandalism, it's steel, and I don't think it's a big factor. If someone were to spray paint it, it could be cleaned up. But those are the kind of things. The insurance is there. We just have to list it. Rye Town Park has the policy, and we've been through this exercise in the past. So,
Okay.
I think
That was
the
my,
machinery
I know
is
that
to
we
do
have,
that
I
is
know that
in-
we have
is in
a
hand.
you've been through this process with Rye Town Park?
Yes, but
Okay,
because
great.
we've done other installations in Rye Town Park, they didn't rise to the level perhaps where we needed help, to do the installation. And so that's perhaps why we're here this time, when we haven't in the past, we've been able to do it without this process.
So I think, if I may, Gary, Meg and Bob, thanks for coming. I think it's a great idea. I think we've had you in the park now for the past number of years, and I'm glad it's becoming, an annual type of thing, because I agree with everything you said about the virtues of having the art in the park. I guess what the supervisor is talking about is, how do we just figure out the nuts and the bolts of
Correct.
how it happens, especially with the laying of this foundation, which is somewhat of a new thing. I don't think your installations
This
in the
is a
past
bigger
have
step.
required
It's a
that.
bigger
So,
piece, and it's a bigger step
so I think maybe we ought to just investigate how that works. But I think probably everyone is okay with, and more than okay, loves the idea of having the art in the park. But
I think it's
we just have
beautiful.
to
I think
work
it's
through-
great.
Just work through the logistics of it. So maybe between now and the next meeting, you can
Maybe
work with
Bill
Bill and
has-
Yeah.
and
Terry, do
either
we
town
have-
staff or city staff
Do
to
we
figure out how it
have,
happens.
Terry, do we have that kind of masonry work on hand? Do you know? Well, why don't you make a list of what you need, because,
Well, it's
yeah, and if we don't have it, possibly the city of Rye, which has
It
done
is
this
on
in the
their-
past.
It's on,
Leave it, it's.
we
it
are
is,
seeking,
yeah.
A, approval, and B, generator
It's an 11-foot circular concrete pad, 3 inches thick, set on a gravel base, and that's what's involved. In terms of hours, masonry hours, I think this is the sort of thing that can be done in perhaps one day of the spade work happening on one day and the pouring happening on a subsequent day. It's something on that order.
What about the removal of the concrete pad?
Right, I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And the removal of the concrete pad?
Right. The concrete pad is then possible to either keep for another installation if we want it, or it's a jackhammer and in a pickup truck kind of thing.
Rock chipping.
I have enjoyed working with Bob over the years. He's a great guy to work with. He
Introduce
does-
yourself, Bill.
Oh, Bill Lawyer, Assistant Director for Park Development. I live in 15 Hillside Place in Rye. And I think it's a great idea, but, trying to put myself in other people's shoes, some people might say, what are they going to do? How's that going to affect the lawn, the flow of people? So certainly we want it to be sited where it will be, be beautiful to see, and it will be observable by many people. We also have to consideration the flow of pedestrians, and we wouldn't want, if it is going to stay there over the winter, we wouldn't want to interfere with the sledding. Otherwise, I would be run out of town, I think.
Why don't you just put it in where that big statue was last summer? Didn't we have statues in the park
Yeah,
last
we
summer?
had the one, and that one actually was that had a base of about, I think it was 24 by 24.
I mean, that was in a nice
This
central.
is much bigger than that. And then you would have to guarantee that we would be able to restore the lawn to its, prior condition afterwards, if you, let's say you want to have it go to November, then the issue comes up as far as Rye Town Park is concerned, is that none of our maintenance people are working at that time of year. So there would have to be somebody else if they were going to remove it in November, basically the staff.
If we get
About
it
the
up,
end of
let's keep
October, I
it for
think.
longer.
I would just keep it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think that what we really need to do is get a list of the actual specifications that you need. How much gravel, how much sand, all of that stuff, a list, specifications like you're doing a construction job. And I think that we need to have discussions, not only with our staff, but perhaps, Joe, with the city of Rye, because you probably have more, highway department or somebody on staff that could do this without a lot of effort.
We should probably show them what we have and get what questions
Yeah.
they have, right?
Right, we should get, the first thing we need is a list of what you need, and then we'll figure out what the park itself has, and between the city of Rye and the village of Portchester and the village of Rybrook, maybe we could, find the wherewithal to get the rest of the stuff that you need. It's not that much, it's just a question of what it is, and,
What it is, and then
yeah.
getting a day or two of the teams.
Yeah.
The-
And as far as, and if park staff is involved, if we keep it up through next June, then park staff will be back.
Yes.
So,
And I think considering that it is going to take a lot of work to get it set up, it would be certainly worthwhile to extend it. In the past, we've done it for like 2 months right near the end of the summer, like in September, and it would go through October, something like that. But I think given all this, and the fact that I think it's sort of a very sort of awe-inspiring piece of work, that people can, it appeals to on many different levels, and, certainly that's going to be an exciting thing, I think, for people to enjoy the park and have this as part of their process.
I don't know how easy or inexpensive it is to do,
I
because
don't
quite
either.
frankly, if it was very easy and very inexpensive, you'd be doing it yourself.
Yes.
And not seeking, the cities or the towns, wherewithal to do it. So why don't, Bill, why don't you work with Debbie Reisner and Marcus Serrano and figure out how this can happen, and if there are any decisions that need to be made as far as outlaying money, you can let us know, and we'll try to figure it out.
And we'll try
yeah,
to
I
have
think,
something
I
ready
think
by
the
the
key,
next meeting.
Bill, the key is getting the specifications. How much of each thing you need, how long it's gonna take, what kind of manpower
many
we're gonna need.
man-hours or
What kind
whatever.
of tools we're gonna need. Do we need drills? Do we need saws? Do we need, jackhammers?
Well, I don't think you're expecting these municipalities to actually do the installation.
That's
It would
what
just be to
we're
make
raising
the
funds
platform.
and our people will do the-
Yeah, I mean, it's a question of, do
Do
you
you mean
need
lay
a,
the concrete and all that? You just want the materials, or?
Well, I mean, to pour the concrete. concrete. We would like the municipality to pour the
Yeah,
concrete.
okay.
And we will then install the piece on it. Perfect request, we'll get it done and have
Yeah.
it to you in the next week or so.
That would be great, because that would give us all enough time to talk, and
Right.
Debbie can talk to Marcus and see who's, and Terry, of course, and see who's got what resources to be able to apply to this, because I think we're all agreed that we'd like to see it, we just need to
Do we
get
need,
it done.
can we just formally approve it
No, I
tonight so
think
they
we-
don't need to come back to us?
I see a hand, actually.
Russell Gold, 7
think we
Hayward
have
Place,
enough.
Rye, New York.
I think we have enough.
I'm also, I'm totally, I've advocated in the use of using Rye Town Park for art installations. I think one of the things that we just can't overlook is what is in the packet today about the location of this thing. If you want to keep it up through November, it's going to be right in the middle of the Rye Triathlon. The Westchester Triathlon. It's right where the registration tents are and where all the expo things is, and you might even end up get caught in the finish line. So we need to really think about what we've already committed to in the
Point.
park as to where we're going to locate this thing. You know,
Excellent
I'd
point.
love to see it, but maybe my first thought was maybe at the north end of the pond. Might be able to have to park a few fewer cars, but I don't think anybody's going to object to that.
No, I
but
would
that's a
think you
good
would
thing.
want it closer to the beach, where more people are going to see it.
Supposed to be able to see it with the water behind it.
Yeah.
Understand? Okay.
didn't-
yeah, but
we're
s-
on
but
here
still,
where-
we do have to we
Where does
do
it
have
say
to
where
just
we're gonna put it? I don't see
keep
that
things
right
in.
I think, yeah.
Keep it in mind.
Obviously, the first question is where it's going to go. And the second question is what materials are needed, and not only materials, but tools are needed. What kind of manpowers do we as a commission or municipalities have to provide for you?
So in this context, at this juncture, is it appropriate to ask for approval for the installation, subject to working out the details of
Yeah.
it?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. In other words, I think we are agreed unanimously that we would approve the project subject to the specifications. Am I
So they
correct?
don't need to come back to this board then, is what I'm asking. I would,
I think
if
they
that's
may
okay
have
with
to come
Mr.
back
Noda.
if there's a monetary outlay, they may have to. Yeah, if there's a monetary outlay, they would have to come back. Right.
Okay.
Yes.
No, thank you.
Let them- You're very welcome. Thank you. Park management report. Terry? And before you start, Terry, I'd like to congratulate you, and I'm sure the rest of the commission would, on your appointment as the park director at our special meeting on May 1st. And this is your first official meeting as the official park director. Congratulations.
Thank you, and
Congratulations.
thank all of you. I'm really excited about it. As you can see from the management report, we have a lot going on at the park. We're trying to just get everything ready and in place for our opening day on May 27th. The one thing I would like to do is I'd like to thank Mayor Sack for getting the Rye DPW on board with us to take care of the drain clog that we had. I believe it's like 90% unclogged, and we're still waiting for Ryan to give us his further suggestions on that. So I really appreciate that and how quickly they were there. We did receive our beach operating permit from the County Department of Health, and I just want to say that this is the first year we actually got the permit before we even mailed it in previous years. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to meet with all the contractors that do work at the park, so I have a better understanding of what is in their contract and what they do for us, so that I can walk around the park and make sure that it's done. I met with Google, a woman from Google. They're going to do a walking video tour of the park, and it's going to be available on Google Maps. The one thing we did this year was, rather than having bottles of water that we bought from Costco, we actually got water coolers, and we just got the water bottles that each employee is going to get. They got there yesterday. We're just going to label them with everyone's name on them so everybody knows whose water bottles is whose.
Terry, can you just put the mic down a little bit?
Oh,
Terry?
yeah. Okay. We ordered new radios We received them, everyone's using them. All the old radios have been collected, and we're storing them at the park. The cameras were tested. The beach is being graded. Sand's arriving tomorrow and Thursday. As far as security, pretty much all our positions are full. Scheduling is being worked on and will be done before the end of the week. I did report there were no incidents, but we did have an incident last week where a baby was locked in the car. We called 911, the police and the fire department came, and the baby and parents were safe. Cashiers, everything is full. Schedules are done for Memorial Day weekend and through July 1st. Computers for the beach are going to be installed this coming Friday. We're getting a lot of calls about pavilion rentals, and we are keeping parking open on weather-appropriate days. Permit office open May 4th. We are working right now with our insurance company to provide HR training to all the staff members. I still am working, trying to coordinate dates when I could get everybody to be able to attend these. Just maintenance is, with the bad weather, maintenance was pretty far behind because we lost a week, but they are catching up. The wall in the parking lot where the archway is completely painted. The middle booth is painted. The bathrooms are working and open. They've been open since mid-April. The pond is clearer than I've ever seen it. The aerators are in, the waterfall's working, so hopefully we could keep it that clean. As far as park development, Bill is working with a donor who wants to restore the fountain. We are working on scraping it and repainting it right now, but we're hoping that the funding will come in to actually restore it and get it working. We had our community conversation last week, and the one thing I want to say is that I was very impressed with the outcome of that meeting. I was pretty taken back on how many people actually do love our park and want to keep it the way it is right now. We're having the NAMI Walk on this coming Saturday. They're expecting about 1,000 people, and on Sunday is the Angelman Foundation Walk. So we're in the preparation of getting everything ready for them. As far as finance, for the month of April, the total income was $24,408. The total from 2015 was $1,721. We're actually, for the month of April, I had $22,687. May through the 15th, our total income is $32,454. From May of last year, it was $42,019, so we're actually behind $9,565. Part of that is two reasons. First of all, our permit mailing did not go out last year till the end of April, so nothing was processed in April. It was processed in May.
Bless you.
So if you take what we processed in April and what we did in May so far, we're actually at 51,240 in permit sales, and we're ahead 17,180 from last year. Unfortunately, the sun's not cooperating with us, so we're behind in preseason parking by $4,018.
I thought you had control over that.
Yeah, I try.
No?
You know,
Carrie,
I do my rain dance every day.
Are we putting up signs with respect to the new non-smoking policy?
Yeah, the signs are in, and
They are.
Bill's going to be working with Sal tomorrow as to where we're going to put them in the park, but 7 signs are there and ready to go.
Are we going to put up a sign saying where the smoking section is? Or just...
It says on the sign where the smoking
Oh, good.
is. Yeah,
Okay.
in the parking lot, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Anything else?
Thank you.
No problem.
Great job.
Do you know if somebody had emailed around, there was a watch left right around where our community conversation, an Apple Watch, actually.
Yes, I have it in my office locked up.
So if anyone that was at the community conversation and lost your Apple Watch, check with Terry.
No one has called, which really surprises me, but I do have it locked up in
Now
my
you're going to
office.
get 10.
And we have to make sure they identify it properly.
I think it was mine.
Was it? No,
I think it was the one I want to have.
it was mine.
I dropped a $100 bill
It
at
was
that
pink.
meeting. I don't know.
I
Joe
believe it was
can't help
pink,
you with
right?
that one.
I shouldn't say that.
Thank you.
Great job, Terry.
Yeah, great
you,
job with
Terry.
the report,
Terrific
and
job.
moreover, the job that you're doing.
Approval of Seaside Johnny's menus and uniforms. Paul, I think, tell us what this is about.
I talked to Mayor Rosenberg about this system. It's got to be a little more user-friendly, not have to hold it down. But
Well, we save on electricity that
I
way.
see that. According to the license agreement, the commission has the authority to approve and both the menu and the uniforms for Seaside Johnny's. And in the last couple of years, we've actually done that. So I think there's even some requirements in the license agreement about the pricing of the food. And if you want to lower the price of some of the items, I think you could do that if you wanted to. Usually somebody from Johnny's is here to defend their pricing, but I don't know if anyone is. So you have a
Ambrose.
photograph of the...
Well, there he
Oh,
is.
here he is, John Ambrose there, okay. So
Mr. Ambrose.
before I get into some of the exorbitant menu items here from Mr. Ambrose, just kidding, John. He can
Seafood's
explain it.
expensive.
Huh?
Seafood's expensive.
Well, I was thinking that 84-ounce Super Bowl Seaside Punch is a little pricey for serving 3 to 5 people, but I guess you get big straws with that as well.
Everything's big.
So I'll turn it over to Mr. Ambrose if he wants to explain any of the items.
Well, as the commissioner said, relative to seafood, seafood is pricey. And anyhow, we just buy the top-of-the-line seafood, and in the past 3 to 5 years, seafood has skyrocketed, mostly due to conservation attempts. It's mind-boggling to me.
Are you opposed to conservation? Is that the statement you're going to make?
No, I'm all in on conservation. But that's why I
You
can't
took a
sell.
big jump there, Gary.
That's why I can't sell seafood for
Oh, the look in his eye, Julie.
below market prices, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we charge what we have to charge to make a fair profit at best. We haven't raised our prices in several years because, that is the landscape. I'm not looking to blow away our customers, and thank God our customers do realize that they're getting value when they do come to the restaurant. And, we don't get berated with comments like, oh, we're getting ripped off here, or anything like that. So, we get a fair price for a fair product.
Thank you. Commissioners have any comments?
John, is there anything you charge for that's not on the menu? Is there any charges during the course of the year that may not appear on the menu, like a special or a reduced price or something like that you may run a special?
We run specials all the time on lobsters, which, it's basically a loss leader during the week, just to hopefully encourage traffic on a Monday through Thursday basis.
Okay. But like all the drinks that you have, like for beach goers, they select from this menu. You don't have another drink menu, is what I'm asking.
No.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and if I may make a comment on art in the park retrospectively, I don't know who was in charge of okaying the art in the park, from the mosaic on the wall, which I think is a little bit, I think it scares people, and that red fixture that was on top of the grass last year. We had so many people came into the restaurant and said, I can't believe that Seaside Johnny's would put this up on the lawn. And anyhow, when I got that from my employees time and time again, I told them, I says, just say, we did not put it up there, and if my boss did, given the fact that it was red, he would have went down to the sundry store and put sunscreen on it. And so going forward, I think what I saw, what they're proposing for this year, I think it's tasteful, it's great. And I'm all for the enhancements of art in the park.
John, I have one question.
Yes.
So you indicated that you have not raised your prices over the past few years, but you are this year. By what
No,
percentage?
no,
are you-
no, no, we're not raising the prices.
Oh, you're not?
He's
No.
not.
Oh, okay. So the prices this year are the same as they've been in past years? Oh, okay. I misheard. I misheard then. So then can I ask you about something else? I think we all appreciated when you were here at a meeting a couple meetings ago and said that you were going to stop the Tiki shuttle service, but so I have heard unconfirmed reports that it's continuing anyway. So what's the story there?
No way, you got erroneous reports.
Okay, so
I'm a man of my word. When I say we're suspending something, we suspend it. There has been no to and fro for customers between the two locations.
what about for not customers, but just shuttling your equipment and product back and forth? Is that happening?
On rare occasion.
Okay, because I think the commission probably doesn't care so much what's being transported, just that the transport is happening at all. So, I don't know if, when you said you were going to cease, that you qualified it by saying passengers only, but I think our concern is just that the vehicle is moving back and forth at all. Unless I'm mistaken about that from the commission.
That was my feeling.
My suggestion would be, and if the commission was amenable to just letting him do it either before the park, well, you can't do it after it closes, but because Playland is open so late, but do it early in the morning if you need to transfer something back and forth before the park opens so that there's no chance of hitting a pedestrian.
I think there's joggers early in the
Oh,
morning, right?
that's true.
And of course, dogs.
You could take your garbage there. That would be great. Could save us some money if you took the garbage to the other side. Paul, what is there was an aside agreement with the fireworks night with Seaside Johnny's. Do they have exclusive right to sell trinkets and stuff like that? Was that tied to this agreement?
No, this was separate. I only learned about it a few years ago that there was and are you still doing that? I don't recall. There was like a percentage.
Do you want to know something? I'm good with suspending that as well.
Yeah, we
It's
yeah,
linked to this.
no, okay, well,
Okay.
it's not happening.
Spending what? I missed.
They were selling sparklers and other items for which we were not receiving a commission or any kind of remuneration. So I think early on, in 2010, maybe you were giving
Yeah,
us a
yeah,
percentage, but yeah, he's not
Scratch
doing,
it from the record. We're not
not
interested
doing it
in doing
anymore,
it.
so okay, thank you.
So
Okay.
when you say very rarely, will you transport your own stuff? What does very rarely mean?
Out of extreme necessity, which doesn't happen very often, and I'd say 90% of the time it does happen before our operating hours.
But very often is how often? Is it not very often is once a day, twice a day, once a week, once a month?
Yep. I'd say a couple of times a week, mostly on the weekend.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
I don't know. I think I think that my feeling was that it wasn't, again, what was being transported, but that the transport was happening at all. So I don't know. I mean, I think that we made it pretty clear how we felt. I don't think that we anticipated that there would be this distinction here, John. But so from my perspective, I think that it ought to just end altogether. But obviously, it's up to the rest of the commission.
How do the other commissioners feel?
Can I just ask a question? Are your two businesses operated separately, though, as for two different businesses? So what are you bringing back? I'm guessing they are because you have two different entities you answer to.
You know,
Like, what are the kinds of things that you move back and forth?
designer seafood. If we fall
Run
short,
out of something.
no, it's basic. It is strictly product on a day-to-day basis. That if we fall short in one location, we might transport it to the other, and vice versa.
Of course, your goal is not to run out of things, but it happens. So
Pardon me?
I'm guessing, of course, your goal is not to necessarily run out of things, but things happen, and then you're forced to.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to overbuy either
Right.
and have it sit. So
It's a tough business, the restaurant business.
it is indeed. So Julie, how do you heard Commissioner Sack? What is your view on this?
Well, Julie's pretty new to the commission. I think that this end has
I mean, I
probably
don't-
been around for a little bit longer. Paul, do you have a strong feeling about it?
My biggest concern, quite honestly, was going back and forth with passengers on it at night, or, you know, when the park was full of people. I understand the need occasionally to have to resupply one restaurant to the other. I'm trying to weigh that need with this commission's, you know, pretty much universal or unanimous thought that we didn't want to have it, but I understand the needs of your business. Is there any way that you could say, okay, we're not going to do it? I mean, I don't know what time people show up at your business, but you know, Gary mentioned that there are joggers and dogs and people in the park very early in the morning. So
Joe
quite,
mentioned
Joe mentioned, excuse me. And so you know, I want to be able to accommodate the occasional emergency restocking of something, because the last thing we want you to do is run out of something and lose customers and not be successful. But I quite honestly would like to hear the other commissioners' opinions, because I don't know how to balance that without ensuring that it doesn't become a regular thing.
Dennis?
Sure. I'm concerned about insurance liability concerns, and I don't mean to be a stick in the mud, but is it possible for you to drive this stuff over? I mean, it's not like it's Fire Island, right? And if it were possible to that, I think that carts are an insurance liability issue, and Mr. Noto, I don't know if we have an arrangement for any type of insurance, or if we even want to go there. And if it's just as easy for you to drive it, which it probably doesn't take much longer, I would prefer to see it that way and not have non-park carts used in the park.
So wait, the carts exist, right? They're your carts?
Well,
I mean, if they
some of
we've
the
been
carts-
letting them for a long time, I'm shocked that we're now asking about liability now if they're there.
Some of the
So
carts
if
are.
you could explain, I'm a little confused.
Some of the carts are ours. Some of the carts are the parks.
Are ours.
Because
Okay.
the parks, their security guys
Right.
drive them all over the park. And our carts are all fully insured. I don't know about the
I
car.
would think so.
Pardon?
John, are you saying that our security guys drive your seafood from place to place?
No. I'm saying just as part of the security team, they're all around the park.
Yeah, but that's their job. I mean, that's what they have to do. Paul, the lease is totally silent on this?
No, I'm not sure that it is. I know he has insurance, but I'll double check. in the
Yeah,
license
I mean,
agreement.
I know
But,
that the
I'm-
park has insurance, I'm sure he has
yes,
insurance.
And he would indemnify us as well for
Yeah,
anything with the carts, because they're his carts, not our carts. But
right,
there,
the question
I think what
is-
you're saying, there are carts running around the park because the park staff use the carts
Yeah.
as well, which is true.
And,
yeah.
you know, as we previously dialogued on when we were going back and forth, you know, I stand on our record that we've never had an incident with either transporting people, but that's a moot point right now, and transporting product between the two locations. There's never been one issue in all the years that we're doing it.
And you haven't expressed an opinion with your view?
Yeah, I mean, we listen to the community at large, and they have expressed concerns to us. And I believe, as one commissioner, I can speak for myself, that we respond to those items of concern. Me personally, I don't think there should be any tolerance for allowing this to continue, if it has continued. Where people, where people have come and expressed a concern, we've addressed it. We've asked you not to do it, and I personally think it should cease altogether. There's no reason for it. You'll figure out, I'm sure you'll figure out a way to still manage the success of your business without using the carts to go back and forth. That's just my opinion.
All right, I think that, and I think it would be very difficult to manage the times that you could, if we agree that you could use it sometimes to carry certain things, at what times would that be? How much can you carry, how often? So I think it's a lot easier just to say that not to do it. Unless there's a provision in the lease that allows you to, then we shouldn't. And I agree with Paul. On the other hand, it's certainly a lesser problem than ferrying people back and forth between the two restaurants. But still, it's not in the lease, and I think that we've gotten complaints about people driving, and I appreciate the fact that there have not been accidents, at least none that have been reported. So, but that being said, I think it's a feeling of the commission
Can I
that
say
that
something?
you should not be driving the carts.
Now that I've gotten to think through it a little bit, I am concerned about the safety of people in the park, but I believe most of the complaints seem to have come from the ferrying back all the time of people. I'm just trying to, be realistic here, and certainly the health of the restaurant and how well the restaurant does definitely affects us. I'm more uncomfortable if somebody's driving around and somebody runs out, drives around quickly. I'm a little more, almost as uncomfortable with that as almost more so than a cart.
Well, my position
and
is,
if,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I'd like to see as few carts in the, whether it's from Rytown Park employees or him, whether it's security or not. I hear employees zipping around too. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I have no idea. I just hear
That's
these things.
Julie, that's a different problem. If we have employees zipping around that shouldn't be zipping around, then park management has to take care of that problem.
My
I would
position also
argue-
is that, Seaside Johnny's was standalone before the Tiki Bar. They didn't have a reason to shuttle around. The Tiki Bar came around, and then they had a reason to shuttle. So Seaside Johnny's should stand on its obligation to run its business as it did absent the Tiki Bar. We shouldn't supplement the needs of the Tiki Bar through the potential liability or issue of risk of the people in the park. That's my position.
I think you've heard how the majority of the commission feels. All right, John? Thank you. Okay. Terry?
I understand what you're saying. What about, I know John uses his golf cart to transport garbage from the
That's fine.
restaurant to the dumpsters, and he also transports, when
In the park.
when he opens up the snack bar up on the north end, they transport, is that still okay?
You know
In
what?
the park, I would say, is not a problem.
Is there any way that ask you to do it as little as possible and see a month into this if
Well,
there's a
Julie-
big problem?
Julie,
don't
what
know.
I
I'm
think
just
we might
trying
want to do.
be reasonable for both sides.
John, you know how you wish to use the cart. Let's call it the cart facility. Would it be too much for you to put it down on paper, a proposal that you would use a cart in such and such a time for such and such a purpose, and then the commission would have something in front of it to consider and either approve or not approve?
You're talking about including what Terry just raised, or
Yeah,
separate
yeah,
and
yeah.
apart?
Well, especially what Terry just raised. I don't know what other circumstances there are, but we're kind of flying blind here. Can use it here, can use it there, and I don't know exactly how
That's why I
they're,
think it's difficult.
how we can do it. So I would suggest that John write down how he would like to use it, and then we can see it and opine on it and make a ruling one way or the other.
Yeah, and we should be guided by the lease and council's recommendation just for indemnification. I don't know if it's blanket or whatever. So I would, maybe you want to put operating parameters around the hours
Yeah, we could do that.
for that.
But Gary, if he's using it to transport the snack bar or something like that, I mean, we have to allow that
Yeah, that's not a problem.
until, let Mr. Ambrose put something on paper. It's not fair to
Right.
make him wait until the next meeting and say you can't even do that until the next meeting.
All right, well, I mean, we could allow him to continue on those until the next meeting. But we should have something definite at the next meeting, whether we should approve or not approve.
But I also think the intra-park uses that Terry just raised are significantly different than.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
The inter-park
Right.
uses, based on what Benny said about, you
Yeah.
know, Seaside Johnny's being a standalone restaurant for many years prior to Tiki Bar coming along. And certainly, we want garbage to be taken away from the beach and the restaurant and to an appropriate place. So
Right.
it's serving a beneficial purpose in that
I
sense.
think there are a lot of
So
different.
inclined, I'm sorry, Mr.
A
Supervisor.
lot of different uses, and I'm not particularly clear on all of these uses. And I'd like to see them written down and say, this is how I would like to use the cart. And perhaps the members of the commission would agree that A, B, and C are good and D, E, and F are not good. But I'd like to see what they are. Certainly I don't think we were considering intra-park until Terry mentioned it. Now we have a use, oh yeah, we should approve that. I don't know what they are. So I agree with Benny 100% and with Joe that basically the carts should not be used. But then maybe there should be an exception. And what are those exceptions? And let's look at them and make a decision. And you know, if we get something in writing, we could circulate it in the next week or so and get at least an informal view of the commissioners, and then we can act on that at the next meeting.
Or if the board is so inclined, Mr. Supervisor, we could delegate the authority authorization to yourself and staff, which I don't know.
If the board is so
Yeah, it's like an
inclined,
operating policy almost.
well, that still would have to be done, you know, I would want you know, an agreement of the commission that whatever action we take, we should be agreed that that's the action that should be taken.
I would just like to remind the commission that, I don't know if it was the meeting, the prior meeting or two before that, that Ted Stein, my colleague, he offered up to you the, I don't know if we call it the code or the bylaws that govern vehicular traffic in the park, and you said you would review them.
I don't think we had to because we got a commitment that it wasn't going to happen anymore. So now
Well,
it
then
seems that,
maybe we need to go back to those rules as written and it's supposedly to be enforced in the park, that no motor vehicles of any kind are supposed to be operated anywhere in the park other than the paved parking areas. So I think it's pretty clear that there should be nothing should be operating for any reason whatsoever.
I
Now, I can understand taking garbage to the dumpster. That seems reasonable, of course. But as far as up and down those paths, I don't see where it's permitted at all. And Mr. Ambrose, with all due respect, on Mother's Day afternoon at 3 o'clock, I have 4 photographs of the Tiki shuttle shuttling back and forth on 2 occasions between the Tiki Bar and Seaside Johnny's. I have the pictures. I'd be happy to show them to. I emailed them to Mayor Sack. So please, we're just asking that you keep your word.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the menu and the uniforms as presented by Seaside Johnny's.
Second.
Should we wait for?
Nice
all-
uniforms.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
So I think we ought to, though, to be fair to Terry, I think we ought to give her some direction because she asked for it. And I do think that we can, you know, as per Mayor Pilla, I think we, under the circumstances, we probably can delegate to Terry as manager of the park the ability to make a preliminary determination as to cart usage intra-park for garbage and snack bar uses. If you deem it to be appropriate and establish with Mr. Ambrose the appropriate protocols that you think are sufficient, I would be comfortable with that under the circuit, because we don't want to.
Subject to attorney's review, actually, just for the indemnification liability.
I would agree with that, too.
Yeah.
Joe, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
it's an operational thing, you know, from a
Yep.
policy perspective, we've given you the guardrails, and now you're empowered. And Mr. Noah, if you could just make sure.
Terry,
you're
you
covered.
will let Debbie know, you know, what those proposed guidelines are.
Simple enough.
Sure.
Also, in regard to what Russ just said, when we have, you know, we rent out the North barbecues for people to use the pits that are in the wall after 6 o'clock, not during the day. But one of the things we do is allow one car to go up the path to drop off the things they need for their picnic. Am I still allowed to do that?
Well, can that be escorted by a
It
security?
is
guard?
always,
Okay, well-
what we do is we have them, when they pull into parking, the parking cashiers call security. The client waits until security gets there and then totally escorted up.
So it sounds like you've already taken appropriate safety precautions.
Yes.
Yeah, but I still think it'll be a good idea to get this all down in writing and
Okay.
figure out exactly who's using vehicles, for what purpose, you
We
know.
also use the golf carts to transport staff from, the admin building up to north.
Right.
And then if there's, security does go back and forth, because right next to the north showers is where all of the people jump to try and get into the park for free. So they're constantly going back and forth monitoring that path, because doing their job.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Terry.
Terry, for your
Thank you, Terry.
diligence.